And we're back again, guys. We have the 2009 Infinity QX56. We're doing the oil and filter change. This car was last oil filter was at 196,000 miles, and now it's at 206. So um, it's definitely due for an oil change. But if you don't know, if you don't have that little sticker in your window telling you when your oil change is due, you can definitely check the oil color and the level to make sure you know that it's around that time to do it. Usually, when the oil is darker than I don't know, it just looks pretty black. I mean, it's not too much I can kind of compare it to, but basically, just like chocolate. That's yeah. Let's say chocolate. Chocolate is probably the best comparison I could think of right now. When you got like a chocolate color looking oil, that's definitely time to get that out of your engine, including the oil filter too. A lot of people don't change the oil filter. But yeah, that's what it's looking like, and we want to get that out of there. It don't look too good. We want to go ahead and get that changed. So after we clean that off, put that dipstick back in there, and then go to the bottom of the vehicle to start that process. So we're at the bottom. You see the little tiny. This is the tiniest oil pan I've ever seen, but that's a tiny oil pan right there, and right there just pointed to the oil pan nut that's in there, or the bolt. I'm sorry, the oil pan bolt. That's going to be in there. You're going to want to get to that. And also the shin guard that's blocking the oil filter. That's the oil filter right there. It's held up. The shin is held up by 10 millimeter bolts. Two right there, one right there, one right there, one right there, and another one right there. Those little hook things do have bolts attached to them. I took it out anyways. I don't know if that's necessary, but if you have to, just get a screwdriver and you'll be able to get those out. So those are some of the tools that I've had. I've done a lot of vehicles, so I just keep up with it. We have our basically two oil filter sockets. Those are different sizes, and then also we have the oil filter pliers. And those are specifically like grip pliers, specifically for oil filters. So I went on and tried the socket just to see if it was the right size, and the first one I picked definitely was. Fumbled with it a little bit, but I finally got it on there firm. And I'll show you how this contraption works. So basically, you just want to take a regular 3/8 socket wrench. I use an extension because it just works better for me. You don't have to necessarily use an extension, but I don't have to get in there so deep. Hopefully, this camera view is good, but it's definitely the same when you get on your vehicle. But you see, just kind of put it into the socket and then begin to loosen it up. Now, I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't work every single time. That's not the fixer. Sometimes you don't even have to use a socket. You can just use your hand. Or sometimes you would have to get some a little bit stronger. Like that's why I use the oil filter pliers, and then sometimes you can get a hammer and hit the pliers when they're gripped on there tightly, so you can break it loose. I've had tons and tons of different vehicles, so I know for sure that that was probably like, oh, he doesn't have my vehicle, he doesn't know how hard it is. Trust me, I've been there. I've just kept up with tools and learned new mechanisms of getting those oil filters off there, so you can do the same. Right now, I'm grabbing another pan. I forgot to get two pans because the oil filter has a lot of oil in it, and you don't want it just to drip on the ground. And especially when you pop it off, it's just like the uh, oil pan. It comes out pretty quick. So you can see right there. I'm just twisting it. It's coming out as quick as possible. Um, and eventually, a little bit will come out on my hand and all into the oil pan. So that works out. And this is a V8 too, so you're gonna have a lot of oil. So if you don't have a big oil pan, I suggest grabbing something like a big bucket or something like that that can fit under there and get enough room so you can catch all that oil because it's gonna be a lot of oil. Another thing too to note, this is a also kind of a bigger vehicle. So as you see, there's no jack and no jack stands. It's enough room for you just to slide under the vehicle without having to jack up the car and do all that extra stuff. So I saved a little time. It's a tight, not a tight fit, but it's it's doable. You can get under there without jacking the car up. Some people suggest it just so you don't have to stress about it at all, but Like I said, I've done this too many times, so for me it was fine. But definitely for you, if you need to, go ahead and jack it up. So yeah, right now we're just letting that drip out. And then next we'll be headed to the oil pan, and then we'll be getting the screw, the oil screw out from the bottom of the tiny pan. I'm gonna try my best to show you here. Let's see. So that's the oil pan. Like I said, it's pretty tiny. Um, you're gonna use a 14 millimeter socket, or open-ended wrench, or in my case, it was on there kind of tight, and I had a weird angle, so I grabbed a breaker bar. You might necessarily not have to do that, but I definitely did because it's definitely been on there for a while. So, and then you can see the oil pan that I have. It's it's pretty big, so I can catch almost like 3 cars of oil into that and then drain it. And it has like a little drain plug on the side there. I bought it from Walmart. If you're wondering, I bought it from Walmart. I want to say like 11, 12 bucks. Because I'll be changing a lot of oil. If you're only doing it one time, I understand. But yeah. So yeah, just another reminder. It is a 14 millimeter. You want to put that on there and grab that socket off. I'm switching other sides and finding a better angle of to get to the oil pan. I think I went behind the passenger tire, and I just slid in that way because it's literally right on the passenger side. There's no middle to it. It just kind of veers to the right, and then you'll be able to get it. I know the angle looks different, but it's on the passenger side. FYI, just for people to know. So right now, I tried the wrench, like I told you. And that's automatic too, so that was pretty nice. It's a good tool, but like I said, it was just on there pretty tough. I ain't gonna lie to you. If it's too tough for me, I got a breaker bar. I'm gonna go grab that. I'm not gonna stress. So eventually you'll see me here go grab the breaker bar, put it on the bolt, get it loose, and then at that point, then I just took it off of my hand because at that point, it spins so quickly. But you just definitely have to break it though. And I didn't have a good edit on this video, so a lot of downtime, real time, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of long because I didn't get time to crop and edit and skip everything. So just to let you guys know, this is real time, how long it took. If you plan on doing this and you think it's gonna take like 30 minutes, it won't. It might take you 13 to 15, but at the same time, this is real time right here. And obvious things is like I didn't show is just put in the bolt back. I mean, after you unscrew it and take it out, it's the same process. But you don't want to use a breaker bar or anything to tighten it back. You kind of just want to use either the wrench or a nice regular socket, regular ratchet, and then just tighten it as hard as you can with your hand. Don't go over zealous with it because you can strip that bolt and then you'll have another problem. You have to replace the whole pan. Which, from the look of it, wouldn't be that hard of a deal. Only thing I see right there is the arm bar under it, but or the subframe. I'm sorry, yeah, the subframe under it, but that's a whole nother mission that we don't have to do. So we'll just keep it simple. Yeah, and then you'll see I just grabbed the socket and just start turning it because it wasn't going with my hand, but eventually it did. And then just be aware. Make sure you have your pan in the perfect spot because that thing comes out fast, and you gotta be ready to catch it. You can just see it almost look like nothing is coming out because how strong the stream is. And let me just say, you better be ready because it will go everywhere. I think I dropped it like maybe right there when it kind of slowed down because my pan wasn't all the way over it. I dropped a little bit, not even that much, so I think I did all right. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, you want to go back after that's completely done. I think I gave it like a good 5 to 10 minutes to let it completely drain out to the point where it's just like maybe dripping a little bit. And I plugged it back up, um, and then just started adding new oil to the engine. But first, we're gonna put the oil filter on after this. So you show you how you do that. I mean, at least I would show that part because that might be a little a little difficult to some folks, but at the same time, it's just you're just doing the reverse process. This isn't that hard. I mean, you can just tell right now. All you're doing is taking a bolt out, letting it drain. As soon as you're done, boom, put the bolt back in. You know, it's like pouring milk out of a carton. You know, you can't go wrong. You know, you just got to know what tools you need to get it open. So, and then yeah, that's where I did. You see, I moved it a little bit, so that's where it dropped because it started to get a little more tinier and closer to the ground. So definitely gotta make sure we have that pan fully under the oil pan just in case so nothing drops on the ground. All right, so we did that. I think next year we're gonna, and that's the other oil pan, but yeah, next year we're gonna go to the oil filter. Now with the oil filter, it's completely already drained, but I mean, excuse me, I suggest having a better towel. That's my old shirt, but it's clean in some spots, so I use that. But a good nice towel. Go ahead and clean that oil filter. Make sure there's no like any kind of oil, any dripping or anything like that. And then also make sure uh, um the old filter has a ring, a rubber ring that sits around the filter, and sometimes they get stuck onto the oil filter hole, or sometimes even to the oil filter itself. So you want to make sure you don't double up because you can have a leak just because there's two oil filter rings around there. I'm not saying the right word, to be honest with you. It's been a long day, but you'll see what I'm talking about once you get to that part. Um, and then you can see this looks nice and clean. Nothing's dripping. So now I can go ahead and add the oil filter back on, the new one at least. And like I said, you just want to use the same tool that you're using before. Um, some people definitely suggest that you put a little oil in the filter before you put it on. I do too. I didn't show you on video, but there's a little bit of oil in there, so that way the filter kind of gets lubricated before you put it on there. It has a little oil already ready to go. But I definitely put some in there. Let's see, I'm just tightening it on by hand as tight as I can, and then after that, I'll kind of use the tool a little bit just to tighten it back. But like I said, I'm not gonna go all out with it because you can strip the oil filter just as easy as you can strip the oil nut too. So the bolt and the oil pan. So just be cautious on that. It's a great tool. It's easy to use. Make sure everything gets on there tight and you're not leaking anything after you did the job. Just to confirm. But at the same time, you can overdo it and mess yourself up. So boom, bam, boom. There you go. Next, I'll be putting back on the shield. Like I said, those are 10 mm bolts, and then you can see those clips. I took those down. They have like screwdriver bolts in there. You can take those out too. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Add your oil, and you're good to go. See you guys on the next video.